Have you ever woken up exhausted even after 8 hours of sleep? Ever had days where your body is dragging, your mind's foggy, and you feel like you're aging faster than the calendar says? Here's the truth that might shock you. Your fatigue might not be coming from your brain, it might be coming from your gut. Because right now inside you there's an entire ecosystem, and it's not silent, it's speaking. It's either fueling your energy or silently stealing it. You are not just human, you are home to trillions of living organisms, what we call the microbiome. Some of them are working for you. They boost your immune system, help digest food, reduce inflammation, and even make neurotransmitters, chemicals that decide your mood and motivation. But others, they're working against you. They feed off sugar, processed food, stress, and sleep deprivation. They create metabolic waste, cloud your mind, slow your metabolism, and trigger low-grade inflammation that accelerates aging. That sluggishness you feel, that fog in your thinking, that loss of drive, it may not be mental. It's microbial. Now, here's where it gets fascinating. New research shows that certain bacteria strains specifically from the Akkermansia lactobacillus and bife families can actually enhance mitochondrial health. Your mitochondria, they're the power plants inside your cells. The better they function, the more energy you produce, and the younger your cells behave. This is not science fiction. This is real, peer-reviewed, biologically measurable change. And it begins not with a miracle supplement, but with a decision to stop feeding the bacteria that drain you, and start feeding the ones that renew you. So what does that actually look like? It starts with your plate. What you eat doesn't just fuel you, it programs your biology, because the microbes in your gut don't just digest food, they decide how you age. You eat fiber-rich plants, you feed the good guys. They respond by making short-chain fatty acids, natural anti-inflammatories that slow aging at the cellular level. You eat ultra-processed junk. You feed the bad guys. They produce chemicals that disrupt your sleep, your skin, and your focus. Here's the metaphor I want you to remember. Your gut is like a garden. You're either planting seeds of strength or letting weeds take over. And every day you get to choose. Let me paint a scenario. You've been exhausted for weeks. You chalk it up to work. But no matter how much you sleep, you don't feel right. You feel heavier, mentally slower, less driven. But one day you cut the sugary drinks. You add fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, kimchi. You swap white bread for oats, sweet potatoes, and lentils. A few days pass, then something shifts. You wake up a little sharper. You don't crash after lunch. You start to move more. Your thoughts become clearer. That's not placebo. That's your gut-brain axis, the communication superhighway between your intestines and your brain waking back up. When you feed it right, everything improves. Your cognition, your stamina, even your willpower. You begin to want to move more. You crave better food. You feel like you're getting younger. Because in a very real way you are. Asterisk, you wake up feeling drained. Not just tired but depleted. Your brain feels slow. Your body heavy, and even though you've had a full night of sleep, it feels like your energy never fully charged. This isn't just exhaustion. This is something deeper, something cellular. And the most overlooked reason behind it. The bacteria inside you, right now, inside your gut, are trillions of microorganisms collectively called the gut microbiota that are quietly influencing every system in your body. Your digestion, your metabolism, your immune system, and even your brain function are directly impacted by the state of your microbiome. When your microbiota is in balance, your energy is stable, your thinking is clear, your mood is grounded. But when it's out of balance even just slightly, you can feel like you're living under a fog. And the scary part is, you might not even realize that's what's happening, because the changes are subtle, cumulative, and over time, they become your new normal. Emerging research now shows that specific strains of bacteria have the ability to influence mitochondrial function, the energy powerhouses in your cells. These aren't abstract ideas. This is measurable biology. Mitochondria are responsible for producing ATP, the energy currency of your cells. When they function well, your cells thrive. When they're compromised by stress, processed food, poor sleep, or harmful bacterial metabolites, your energy declines, not just physically but mentally. And here's where it gets fascinating. Certain beneficial gut bacteria like Akkermansia muciniphila, Lactobacillus plantarum, and bifidobacterium help support mitochondrial biogenesis. They promote the production of new mitochondria and reduce oxidative stress. In other words, they protect the very structures that keep you young and energized. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine your gut dominated by opportunistic, inflammatory microbes. These are often fed by refined sugar, artificial additives, and excessive antibiotic exposure. These bacteria don't support you. They produce endotoxins like lipopolysterides LPs that leak into your bloodstream when your gut lining is compromised, triggering low-grade inflammation. That inflammation doesn't just affect your gut, it travels. It reaches your joints, your skin, your brain. It dulls motivation, reduces focus, and accelerates aging from the inside out. This isn't just about digestion. This is about identity. Your microbiome influences how you feel, how you act, even how you think. The gut and brain are connected by the vagus nerve, a communication superhighway that sends signals in both directions. Your microbes can produce neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, and GABA chemicals responsible for mood, motivation, and calm. So if your gut bacteria are out of sync, it doesn't just affect your energy, it affects how you experience your entire day. What you feel isn't laziness or burnout, it's biology that's misfiring, and that means it can be fixed. Not through willpower, but through intentional input. That's where anti-aging bacteria come in. These are not some exotic supplements from a lab. These are naturally occurring native strains of bacteria that flourish when you give them the environment, and when they thrive, you thrive. You don't just delay aging, you reverse its trajectory. Cellular health improves. Telomeres, the protective caps on your DNA, shorten more slowly. Your inflammatory markers go down, and the best part, you feel it. You feel lighter, sharper, calmer, because your internal ecosystem is finally working with you, not against you. But this doesn't happen passively. You don't stumble into microbiome health, you cultivate it. Like a garden, your gut needs pruning and feeding. You remove what harms and you nourish what heals. That means reducing your intake of ultra-processed foods, synthetic sugars, and emulsifiers that destroy microbial diversity. It means increasing fiber, especially prebiotic fibers found in leeks, onions, garlic, asparagus, and oats. It means introducing fermented foods that carry probiotic strains already proven to support energy production and reduce gut inflammation. And it doesn't take years. Within days, sometimes even hours of changing what you eat, your microbiome begins to shift. Studies show that microbial composition can change in just 24 to 48 hours. The body is not rigid, it is adaptive, but it responds to consistency. If you nourish the right bacteria daily, they multiply, they flourish, and they begin to outcompete the ones that drain you. That's not inspiration, that's microbiology. Let's look at how this plays out in the real world. You're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and you've noticed a gradual decline in vitality. You're not sick, but you're not fully alive either. Your workouts feel harder, your sleep is less restful. You need more caffeine to get moving. These aren't just signs of aging. They're signs of inflammation and dysbiosis imbalances in the gut that slow mitochondrial function and impair neurotransmitter signaling. But the moment you start feeding anti-aging bacteria with fiber-rich plants, resistant starches, and polyphenol-packed foods like berries and green tea, you turn that around. You build momentum at the microbial level, and that momentum compounds energy. In this case, it's not something you generate, it's something you unlock. You already have the machinery, but it's been underperforming because the conditions were off. Your microbiome is like a software system that influences how well your hardware functions. And when you optimize it, the change is not subtle. You feel it in your bones. You feel it in your mood. You feel it in the way you carry yourself. So, when we talk about anti-aging bacteria, we're not talking about magic. We're talking about hormesis, the biological principle where small positive stressors like fasting, plant polyphenols, and microbial diversity trigger your body's repair systems. We're talking about autophagy, where your cells clean themselves. We're talking about reversing metabolic fatigue, all starting in the gut. What we often label as aging is, in many cases, accumulated biological damage from poor microbial health. And the good news, that's reversible, not overnight, not with one smoothie, but over time, with consistent nourishment and the removal of microbial stressors. Your gut heals, your energy returns, your mind reactivates, and you stop feeling like you're running on fumes. The choice is there, every day. Do you want to fuel the bacteria that rob your energy, or the ones that regenerate it? Because every meal, every habit, every moment of stress resilience or sleep repair is a vote for one or the other, and the body keeps score. So when you feel tired for no reason, when your motivation fades, when you sense your edge slipping, don't just look at your schedule, look inside, look at your gut. That's where the conversation starts. That's where youth is either sustained or surrendered, and the power to shift that trajectory is already in your hands, and more importantly, on your plate. You've been taught to think that energy is all about willpower, that if you're tired, it's because you're not trying hard enough, that if your motivation is fading, You just need to push through. But here's the truth, science is finally making impossible to ignore. Energy and motivation are not simply products of mindset, they are products of biology, and one of the most powerful biological systems shaping how alive, focused, and driven you feel each day is something most people never think about: the gut-brain axis. This axis isn't metaphorical, it's not poetic language, it's an actual, anatomical, biochemical communication network that runs between your enteric nervous system, often called the second brain in your gut, and your central nervous system, including your brain. They talk constantly, through neural pathways like the vagus nerve, and through chemical messengers like neurotransmitters and immune molecules. The question is, what kind of messages are they sending when your gut is imbalanced, when the microbial ecosystem inside you is filled with inflammation-producing, sugar-hungry, metabolite-leaking bacteria? The messages sent to your brain are not the messages of calm, clarity, or drive. They are signals of stress, of threat, of fatigue. Your brain interprets this subtle but chronic alarm system by dialing down your focus, lowering your motivation, and amplifying anxiety. You start to procrastinate. You start to feel indecisive. Your ability to move forward with confidence erodes, not because you've become weak, but because your biology has shifted into a state of subtle dysfunction. You don't need another productivity hack. You need to repair the system that fuels your desire to engage with life. The science here is precise. About 90% of serotonin, neurotransmitter linked to mood, confidence, and emotional stability, is produced in the gut, not in the brain, in the gut, and microbes help regulate that production. They also impact dopamine, the key molecule of motivation and reward. And this isn't theoretical, it's been measured. When the gut is inflamed or leaky, or when microbial diversity is reduced due to poor diet, stress, antibiotics, or sleep disruption, dopamine sensitivity in the brain drops. That means you need more stimulus to feel good, but your system is less responsive. You're stuck in a biochemical loop, needing more to feel less. But here's the good news, your system is highly adaptable. The gut-brain axis can be recalibrated, motivation can be restored, focus can be sharpened, and real sustained energy can return, but not by trying harder, by working smarter, by treating the gut like what it actually is, the foundation of your mental and emotional resilience. Don't think of it like this: your gut is the command center of your body's emotional weather. When it's in balance, the messages sent to your brain are smooth, regulated, precise. It's like driving on a clear road with perfect visibility. But when your gut is in chaos, it's like trying to drive through a storm. Every small bump, it feels like a mountain. Every small task feels overwhelming. The emotional signal-to-noise ratio is off. You lose traction. You stop trusting your own momentum. This explains why people often don't respond to motivation the way they expect. 2. It's not that the message isn't strong enough. It's that the wiring isn't optimized to receive it. The biology behind motivation has been compromised by chronic inflammation, microbial imbalance, and poor gut-brain signaling. So, how do we repair it? Step 1 is awareness. Knowing that every time you eat, every time you sleep, every time you manage stress or neglect it, you are either strengthening or weakening the gut-brain axis. You are either feeding bacteria that stabilize your neurochemistry or those that dysregulate it. Step 2 is consistency. Because your body doesn't respond to what you do occasionally, it responds to what you do repeatedly. The gut microbiome is dynamic, but it doesn't shift overnight. You build it like a muscle, with daily input. And step 3 is patience. Rewiring the gut-brain axis is not instant gratification, but it is lasting transformation. Once you shift your internal state, everything external becomes more manageable. That's not a motivational quote, that's biology. Now imagine waking up in a body where your energy is naturally high, where your thoughts are crisp, your motivation is intact, and your emotions are resilient. That's not just possible, it's normal. For a human body that is supported from the inside out, a well-fed, well-balanced gut doesn't just digest food, it digests life. It processes information, calibrates the nervous system, and fuels the brain with the raw materials it needs to make decisions, stay driven, and execute plans. This isn't luxury. It's what your biology expects and what it will return to once the interference is removed. So what are the daily actions that repair this axis and bring your motivation back online? First, support microbial diversity. That means eating more whole, plant-based foods rich in prebiotics, polyphenols, and fiber. Things like apples, lentils, leafy greens, garlic, and onions don't just nourish you, they feed the bacteria that build serotonin and dopamine. Second, introduce fermented foods. Yogurt, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut. These contain live beneficial bacteria that reinforce the gut lining and regulate the immune system. Third, prioritize sleep not as an afterthought, but as a biological imperative. Your gut bacteria operates on a circadian rhythm. When you sleep irregularly, their rhythm is disrupted, and with it, your energy and focus. Fourth, reduce processed food not just because of sugar or calories, but because of the emulsifiers, artificial sweeteners, and preservatives that directly alter gut flora and increase permeability of the gut lining. And fifth, move your body. Daily movement, especially moderate intensity exercise, stimulates the vagus nerve, enhances gut motility, and improves both microbial health and mood regulation. Your gut doesn't just respond to food, it responds to everything you do. Every small habit, every choice, is a message, a signal to your biology, to your future. You are either reinforcing energy or allowing decay. You are either building resilience or feeding And when you realize that your thoughts, your drive, your emotional strength are all influenced by something as foundational as the health of your gut, the game changes. You stop looking for external solutions, and you start engineering internal strength. This is where energy begins. This is where motivation is born. Not from hustle, not from hype, but from the gut-brain axis, working in harmony, sending the right signals, giving your brain the tools to fire, giving your body the stamina to act, and giving you the sense of clarity, confidence, and power to rise every single day. You don't need to overhaul your life to transform your energy. You need to start with the smallest, most biologically intelligent steps and repeat them. Because the body doesn't respond to intensity as much as it responds to consistency. The nervous system rewires not through dramatic changes, but through small, repeated actions that send the same message over and over again. This is who I am now. That's how you change, not just how you feel, but who you become. There's a common mistake people make when they want to feel better. They go big. They try to change everything overnight. Diet, exercise, sleep, supplements, mindset, and within days, they burn out. Not because the effort wasn't noble, but because the nervous system was overwhelmed. It's not wired for sudden, radical shifts. It's wired for stability and pattern. And when you introduce microhabits, small, intentional steps done daily, you tap into the most reliable way to train the body and brain to sustain higher energy, better focus, and longer-term vitality. The science behind this is rooted in habit formation, dopaminergic learning, and neuroplasticity. Your brain is constantly asking one question: what behavior is worth repeating? And it answers that question based on the chemicals you release when you act. When you do something difficult but manageable, something that aligns with your goals and values, you get a dopamine release. That's not just pleasure, it's reinforcement. Dopamine is the brain's way of tagging that action and saying, do this again. And when that action is repeated in a consistent environment, with a clear Q&A meaningful reward, the brain begins to encode it as a habit. What once required effort becomes automatic. It becomes who you are. Let's take something as simple as adding one fermented food to your day. That's a microhabit. Yogurt with live cultures. A spoon of kimchi. A glass of kefir. It takes less than a minute, but inside that minute, you're introducing probiotic strains, live bacteria that enter your gut and begin shaping your microbial ecosystem. These bacteria don't just help digestion. They influence your mood, your energy, your motivation, because they interact with your gut lining, with immune cells, and with nerve endings that send information directly to your brain. You're not just eating differently, you're communicating differently with your own biology. Or take a 5-minute walk after a meal. Another microhabit, simple, approachable, consistent, but the impact is profound. That small walk increases glucose uptake, improving metabolic health. It also stimulates the vagus nerve, which enhances gut motility and calms the nervous system. You feel better, faster, not because you ran a marathon, but because you respected the biology of your body and gave it the movement it needs to regulate. Now layer in another habit, a fiber-rich breakfast, oats, chia seeds, blueberries. It feeds your gut bacteria with prebiotics, the food that good microbes need to thrive. These microbes produce short-chain fatty acids, which reduce gut inflammation and support the integrity of the gut lining. A stronger lining means less inflammation, fewer mood swings, more stability. And when your biology is stable, your mind becomes clear, the fog begins to lift, focus sharpens, and suddenly your energy feels more earned and less forced. This is the power of stacking microhabits. Each one is a vote, a neural imprint, a signal that says, I care about my future biology. And the body responds not just with better digestion or less bloating, but with elevated energy and stronger emotional regulation. Because energy is not just physical, it's psychological. And when you train your body to operate in rhythm, meals, regular light exposure, regular movement, you begin to reclaim the momentum that once felt lost. There's another powerful aspect to microhabits. They bypass resistance. When you ask your brain to do something overwhelming, it resists. The amygdala lights up. Stress hormones rise. You procrastinate, or panic, or freeze. But when the task is small, drink water first thing in the morning, stand in the sunlight for 5 minutes, breathe slowly before eating, the brain accepts it. It says, I can do that. And that acceptance creates a neural bridge, a moment of readiness that opens the door to bigger actions. You're not trying to trick the brain. You're working with it. You're understanding its constraints. You're honoring its architecture, and that's why microhabits work when massive action fails. They're biologically aligned. They meet the nervous system where it is and gently pull it in a new direction. It's also important to recognize the psychological shift that microhabits create. When you do something small but meaningful every day, you change your story. You stop seeing yourself as inconsistent, unmotivated, or stuck. You begin to embody a new identity, one built on reliability, on structure, on integrity. The act of following through even on a 2-minute habit tells your brain, I do what I say I'll do. That sense of internal trust is powerful. It builds self-respect, and that self-respect becomes the fuel that sustains you through the more difficult phases of change. The beautiful part is this: you don't need to see massive change overnight to know it's working. Your biology feels the shift before your mind even understands it. Microhabits lower inflammation. They stabilize blood sugar. They balance the gut. They regulate your nervous system. These effects may not look dramatic on day one, but they accumulate, and with each repetition, you become harder to distract, slower to burn out, and quicker to recover. You're no longer managing symptoms. You're creating stability at the root level. Start small, but start with purpose. Whether it's hydrating in the morning, chewing your food slowly, standing up every hour, or going to sleep at the same time each night, these are not trivial acts. They are neurobiological commands. They change your chemistry. They create new circuits, and those circuits become the scaffolding for a more energized, more resilient, more focused version of you. If you want to change your energy, you don't need a revolution. You need a rhythm. You need a few tiny actions, repeated without exception, that send a clear message to your body. I'm building something here. I'm not chasing intensity. I'm investing in consistency. That's how you upgrade your biology. That's how you reset your energy. That's how you age in reverse. The nervous system doesn't care how motivated you are. It cares about what you do. And what you do repeatedly, even if it's small, becomes who you are. So when you choose one micro habit and commit to it, not just building a routine, you're building a new identity, one signal at a time. Asterisk, imagine a version of you 5 years from now, clear-eyed, strong, energized, biologically younger than your age. That version isn't built in one leap. It's built in 1,000 small, daily choices that compound. Because when it comes to energy, mental clarity, and longevity, the secret isn't found in extremes. It's found in rhythm. Biological rhythm, microbial rhythm, habitual rhythm. And the most transformative rhythms don't just extend your lifespan, they elevate your health span. The number of years you stay vibrant, focused, and fully alive. But we often resist the small things. We underestimate their power. We tell ourselves, what's the point of eating one healthy meal, of going for one short walk, of skipping just one soda? The truth is, the brain isn't optimized for long-term vision, it's optimized for immediate reward. That's how our dopaminergic systems evolved. But when you understand how to work with that system, how to anchor progress in small, consistent steps, you unlock the real superpower of your biology. Momentum. Momentum isn't hype, it's neurochemical. Each time you make a small decision that aligns with your goals, choosing fiber over sugar, water over soda, sunlight over screens, your brain releases a pulse of dopamine. Not because you've reached your goal, but because you've moved toward it. Dopamine, at its core, is not the reward chemical. It's the pursuit chemical. It motivates effort. It wires the brain to want to repeat the behavior, and that's why small steps matter, because they generate motion, and motion generates identity. You may not feel transformed on day one of a new habit, but your brain and body are already adapting. Neural circuits are responding. Gut bacteria are shifting. Mitochondria are recalibrating. These changes are invisible until they're not. Suddenly, you wake up with more energy. Your mind is clearer. You recover faster. Your mood is lighter, and you realize this is no longer a phase, it's who you've become. Not because you made one big change, but because you kept showing up. Consistency is not glamorous, it's not thrilling, but it's biologically powerful. When you repeat a habit daily, especially one that supports your gut, your sleep, or your mental focus, you create predictable input, and your nervous system loves predictability. It thrives on it. Predictable input leads to stable hormone production, balanced blood sugar, reduced inflammation, and more resilient circadian rhythms. These internal shifts create the conditions for long-term vitality. Take your gut microbiome as an example. It's constantly adapting to your daily patterns. If you feed it junk one day and fiber the next, it stays confused, diversity drops, and inflammation rises. But when you feed it consistently whole foods, fermented foods, hydration, movement, it organizes, it becomes more efficient. The beneficial bacteria multiply. They begin to outcompete the bad actors. And as they do, they release metabolites like butyrate and propionate compounds that not only protect your gut lining, but also influence brain health, mood, and immune function. Over time, this microbial intelligence becomes your intelligence. Your energy rises because your system is no longer wasting effort fighting internal chaos. It's flowing in alignment. Let's take this deeper. Imagine someone stuck in a pattern of exhaustion and fog. They try everything: cutting calories, overtraining, late night screen time followed by early alarms. They wonder why nothing's working. But when you look under the hood, you see the problem. Their biology is dysregulated. No rhythm, no consistency, no microbial foundation. So the body stays in a reactive state, always playing catch-up, never gaining ground. That person isn't weak. They're out of rhythm. But here's where change begins. That same person decides to take one step. They begin the day with hydration, a walk in natural light, and a fiber-rich breakfast. They keep it simple. They do it for 3 days, then 5, then a week. Slowly, inflammation drops. Sleep improves. Gut bacteria begin to recalibrate. They add 1 fermented food per day, then a 12-hour overnight fast. Within a month, their biology is humming, and they feel it. They become it. The reason this works is because it honors how the nervous system builds trust. The body is listening, and when you send the same clear signal daily, it begins to believe you. It lowers stress, it boosts repair, it stops guarding against chaos and starts optimizing for clarity. That's not inspiration, that's what small, consistent actions unlock. The mistake people make is thinking they have to be perfect, that they have to overhaul everything, but that's not sustainable. The brain doesn't change through pressure. It changes through patterns. Patterns create identity, and identity changes behavior automatically. When you act like a healthy person, even in small ways, your brain begins to believe you are one, and then it helps you stay one. This is why doing the work is not about intensity, it's about repetition. You can't meditate once and expect peace. You can't eat one good meal and expect energy. But if you do these things every day, even briefly, the effects compound. Because biology rewards rhythm. Your mitochondria respond to rhythm. Your gut bacteria respond to rhythm. Your hormones and neurotransmitters respond to rhythm. When your life becomes rhythmically aligned with your biology, aging slows, focus sharpens, and energy becomes consistent, not because you're forcing it, but because you're aligned. So what do those small steps actually look like? Drink a large glass of water with minerals first thing in the morning. It wakes up your digestion, supports adrenal health, and replenishes hydration lost overnight. Get outside within 30 minutes of waking sunlight, anchors your circadian rhythm, supports dopamine regulation, and improves sleep quality 16 hours later. Add 1 prebiotic or fermented food to your diet each day. These feed the bacteria that boosts brain clarity and immune strength. Move your body daily, even just 10 minutes. Walk, stretch, breathe. Movement isn't optional, it's metabolic necessity. Commit to regular sleep and meal timing. Stability in these routines communicates safety to the body. And when your body feels safe, it thrives. You don't need heroic effort. You need daily rhythm. You need patterns that tell your body, we're no longer surviving, we're optimizing. And when you do that consistently, the nervous system doesn't just change, it reorganizes. That reorganization is the beginning of a new identity. One grounded in energy, in clarity, in longevity. If you want to build a life that lasts, build it one small, consistent step at a time. Feed your microbiome daily. Move your body daily. Align your light exposure, food, and rest with your biology. These are not small things, they are everything. Because what you repeat becomes who you are. And your energy, your focus, your future on the habits you're repeating right now. Asterisk, you are not broken. You are not lazy. You are not destined to live in a body that feels heavy, a mind that feels dull, or a spirit that feels tired. What you are, like every human, is deeply influenced by your internal environment, by the bacteria in your gut, by the chemistry that flows through your bloodstream, by the rhythms you live by, knowingly or not. The truth is, your biology wants to work for you. It wants to generate energy. It wants to repair, to sharpen, to focus. But it can only do that if you create the conditions for it to thrive. And those conditions aren't mysterious. They aren't locked behind expensive treatments or complex systems. They're within reach. They're already part of your daily life. The air you breathe, the light you expose yourself to, the foods you choose, the way you move, rest, and think. These aren't minor details. These are switches, neurochemical, microbial, and hormonal switches that decide whether you flourish or fade. Right now, you have trillions of microorganisms inside you. Some of them are keeping you young. Others are pushing you toward premature aging. You get to decide which ones you feed. You get to decide what kind of internal environment you cultivate. Every sip of water, every serving of fiber, every step in sunlight is not just a healthy action. It's a signal, a command, a message to your biology. Let's regenerate, let's sharpen, let's rise. And no, it doesn't take perfection. It takes rhythm, consistency, a deep understanding that the nervous system responds not to how hard you try but to what you repeat. It rewires based on pattern, not pressure. That's the key. You don't need to sprint. You need to show up every day with intention, because small hinges swing big doors, and the smallest shifts done daily can change your identity from the inside out. So start now, not tomorrow. Not when it's convenient. Begin with one act, one micro-habit. Drink the water, walk into the light, add one fermented food, cut out one sugar-filled snack. These are not just wellness trends. These are acts of biological alignment. They send your gut the right signals. They send your brain the right chemicals. They send your life in a different direction. You're not just healing your energy. You're reclaiming your agency. You're no longer passively aging. You're actively choosing to live fully. And in that choice, something beautiful happens. Your body responds, your mind responds, your identity evolves. You become the person who doesn't just survive the day but commands it. You are already wired for energy. You just have to clear the static. Feed the allies within you. Show up in rhythm, and let your biology do what it was always designed to do. Keep you focused, powerful, and fully alive.